Help support the show by joining the Patreon or becoming a YouTube member. Also, hit that like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content. Couple bits of Browns news dropped late last night. Let's talk about it early this morning. First bit of news. The Browns have signed a new linebacker, Jerome Baker. Now, Jerome Baker is a veteran linebacker. He's been primarily, a coverage guy throughout his career. At least that's what he's excelled at. Former Ohio State player from the Cleveland area, gets to return home. How old is Jerome, real quick? Let me look that up. He is about 28, so not super old. I do wonder if this is here for JOK or if it's here for Jordan Hicks, because he kind of has a lot of overlap with Jordan Hicks, right? A Mike linebacker that can cover. That's what Jordan Hicks is. Jordan Hicks is on the wrong side of 30. I think +2. I think Jordan Hicks is like 32 or something like that. The Browns can save some money cutting him, especially once you get into camp. So maybe this is setting up Jordan Hicks to be a camp cut. I know a lot of people hear linebacker, the Browns sign a linebacker and think, oh my God, does this say anything about JOK? I understand why people feel that way. There's a lot of uncertainty with JOK, right? He's walking around, he's talking, like he hasn't been around with outside, at least with like a brace or anything. This might just be an injury similar to Greedy Williams' injury, where there's just no real physical indicator of when he'll be back. I don't think this move really illuminates much on the JOK thing either way. I'd be very careful about projecting anything about JOK at this point. I think we just know very little, and what has painted the perception of the JOK situation has been based off of very little and a lot of speculation, not a lot of fact in there. So we'll see what happens, right? I think we'll get a clear picture of what's going on with JOK once they get to mandatory mini camps in June, and then obviously in training camp in July. I think we'll have a better idea of what's going on there. But until we get to that point, I can't assume that like something drastic has happened. There's not a ton of overlap with him and JOK anyways, which is why I don't think this is a move that's directed at like, oh, we got to have a replacement for him. There's a lot of overlap more so with like Jordan Hicks. Makes me feel like this might be a move to get Jordan Hicks out of here, or to, if you feel like JOK might miss a couple weeks, you can have one of the two kick over to Will or Sam while you wait for JOK to get back. So bringing back Jerome Baker, I think it's a good signing. He's a solid player. I really trust Jason Tarver in the linebacker room. He did wonders with Devin Bush. This is also insurance on Devin Bush, right? Had that one pretty good season, hasn't really had two in a row. So you got some backup there for Devin Bush. Gives your linebacker room just a security, adding another veteran. I trust Jason Tarver and what he's done with that room. He's done a good job with these linebackers over the year. I mean, he did a good job with B.J. Goodson. Like he's, again, I'll say it again, he's the best position coach the Browns have had. Nobody has done since 2020 more with as little than Jason Tarver. Like they've handed Jason Tarver scraps, Anthony Walker, B.J. Goodson, and told him get good linebacker play out of these guys. And he's been able to do it. With bad defensive coordinators, too. He had Joe Woods 2 of those years. Still was able to do it. And look, I have no disrespect to Bill Callahan, who did a tremendous job while he was here. But Bill Callahan got like Wyatt Teller and Joe Bitonio and, these guys who the Browns spent a lot of money to help, right? The offensive line got a lot of money. And even then, the offensive line just kind of fell apart the last year that he was here. Jason Tarver had no resources thrown at that position, like 1 second-round pick, and it's been scraps, right? He's been having to figure it out with Devin Bush, right? Like Mahmoud Diabate. Nobody, no coach on this team in the Stefanski-Barry era has done more with little than Jason Tarver. You cannot make an argument against that. He has done so much. So I trust Jason Tarver here, his evaluation of these linebackers. I tend to think he's done a pretty solid job for the Cleveland Browns over the year. But, yeah, that's the whole Jerome Baker thing. Don't know if this means anything about JOK. Would be careful to speculate about that. But now let's move on to the next bit of news that happened, and this kind of concerns the Browns quarterback thing. Now, the Browns haven't signed a quarterback, but a move was made. The Giants signed Jameis Winston to a 2-year, $8 million deal, so $4 million a year that can expand into $16 million. My initial reaction is that this is a backup quarterback contract. I think New York is one of the teams that really like Cam Ward. Now, I do think that Tennessee, or at least it appears that Tennessee is going to take Cam Ward number 1 overall. All signs point to that. The Browns are a bit more of a mystery at 2. They could go Sanders, go quarterback if they want to. They could go Travis Hunter. They could go Abdul Carter. They could trade back. The Browns are the mystery in the top 3. I think the Giants prefer Cam Ward as well, right? I know there's been a lot of smoke with Shedeur, and I wouldn't be surprised if they took Shedeur, but I think the Giants want to take a quarterback. I think the guy they want to take is Cam Ward. And I don't know if it's a good thing to have Jameis be the backup for Cam Ward, given the issues that Cam Ward has had in college. Maybe it's one of those things where it works out, right? Because Jameis has made those mistakes. The problem is Jameis still does make those mistakes. Or maybe Cam Ward can see the consequences of these mistakes at the NFL level. I don't know. But I can see it making sense to be like, hey, we're going to have Cam Ward and Jameson because ultimately both those guys are going to rip it downfield without conscious, good or bad, right? They're going to test tight windows in the NFL. So I can see that pairing working out. I know some people I know the working theory was that the Giants were going to sign Russell Wilson. This throws a wrench in that. I don't think it really makes a ton of sense to have Jameis back up Russell Wilson. The styles of play aren't similar enough for that to make sense. The personality matches just ain't there. Like it would feel like an awkward fit with Russ and Jameis. Now, again, it's the Giants, so they could just be throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. And part of that is let's give Jameis a try. Let's go give Russ a try, right? This is the team that did give $45 million to Daniel Jones and told Saquon Barkley to walk. So, yeah, maybe they might be doing something silly, right? But I don't know if this counts them out of Russ entirely, but it does cloud the picture up with Russell Wilson. Now, there's this weird and awkward musical chairs game going on with these teams left in quarterback, right? The Cleveland Browns, the New York Giants, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. All 3 of these teams would like to have a veteran quarterback on their team, right? A veteran quarterback who has a history of start. I think that's all 3 of these teams would like that, right? All 3 of these teams have tried to get that. The Giants are courting Aaron Rodgers now. If you think Russ, and Jameis Winston is a weird fit. I don't know what Aaron Rodgers and Jameis Winston would be like. It would be pretty weird. I don't know what to do with that. But, yeah, Russ, it feels like now becomes more available with the Giants going in on Jameis, right? Because if you want a veteran quarterback, Jameis Winston does qualify as a veteran quarterback. I think this points to the Giants want to take a quarterback, right? Maybe they've decided internally, we're okay with Cam Ward. We're okay with Shedeur Sanders. And if we can't get any of those two, we'll just rock it out with Jameis for a year and try again next year, or hope that Jameis can tap into what he did in New Orleans, right? Like, I think this it's not money that takes them out of the Russ thing, but it is a presence that would just make bringing in another veteran quarterback pretty awkward. That being said, they could still do it. Like, I don't really think that stops the Giants, right? But I think if you're the Browns, now you look at Russ and you look at Kirk Cousins being the main two options. It feels like Aaron's going to settle in with the Pittsburgh Steelers, who only have Mason Rudolph on that roster right now. So either Aaron Rodgers retires or Aaron Rodgers plays for the Steelers. I think that's really the decision that he's mulling. I don't think it's between New York now, and this might be still, who knows what is going on with Aaron Rodgers at this point, which leaves the Browns' decision between Russell Wilson and Kirk Cousins. With Kirk Cousins, there's a bit of a question mark to that, right? You got to wait out this whole situation with Atlanta. You gotta ensure him that he won't be Michael Penix again, which I think is quite frankly a ridiculous request from a quarterback his age and his caliber, right? Like this whole thing with and maybe it's not anything that Kirk's actually saying, right? We know how the media works. Sometimes things get put out there that aren't coming from the players themselves or the agents or the people who represent the player itself. But the reports have been that Kirk Cousins does not want to have happened to him this year what happened to him last year, which is being replaced by a rookie quarterback. He doesn't want to be blindsided by that. That points to me that a Kirk Cousins deal, even if you could trade for Kirk, right? He has a no trade clause, so he can veto any trade that goes across his desk or across his office. And that means he's probably not going to accept the trade until after the draft. Right. So if you want Kirk Cousins, you're going to have to wait until at least after day one of the draft I would say probably day two, too. Right. Day three, he might be willing because he should feel confident he's not going to get beat out by somebody that's a day three pick. But day one and day two, you're probably not going to be able to make a move for Kirk until after those 2 days of the draft. You can sign Russell Wilson right now. Kirk Cousins, I do believe, fits better of what the Browns want to do. He knows the Kevin Stefanski offense, so there's that advantage with him. On paper, there's a more seamless fit there with Kirk. Now, on the other hand, there's Russell Wilson, who I do think deserves a little bit more credit for what he's done the last 2 years than how people talk about him. I actually heard somebody entertain the conversation about whether Carson Wentz is a better option than Russell Wilson. And look, I get it. Russ is corny. People make jokes about Russ. All of this stuff, Russ a jerk, all of that, we get it, man. I talked about it all last year with Pittsburgh. But you know what? Pittsburgh won a lot of games with Russell Wilson. The Denver Broncos in Russell Wilson's last year, they were able to almost make the playoffs at the end of that season, right? So, yeah, is Russ a fun option? Is Russ a cool? Russ is what is Russ like? Russ is, I don't know, people like to wear Crocs now. I was going to compare him to a pair of Crocs because you used to get roasted when I was a kid if you came to school in Crocs, even though they were very functional. But now people openly wear Crocs now. What is Russ like? Russ is you know what Russ is like? Russ is like a pair of generic socks. Nobody is going to get excited about buying a 10-pack of plain white and black socks with no logos on it, right? They not like the Nike Elite joints that everybody gives you props for. At least when I was a kid, they used to give you props for. I bet that's not in style anymore. Those some ugly ass socks. But anyway, they're not a pair of socks that people are going to recognize or say, hey, that goes good with them shoes or anything like that, right? You might get roasted too because you might mess up, get the Hanes with the puffy, the puffy columns, and it look like a dad sock or whatever it is. But you know what? That sock works, right? The sock does its job, right? Or a Volkswagen Beetle, right? It's not a sexy car, but it gets the job done, right? The Toyota Corolla, the Ford Focus, nothing really fun about those vehicles or those socks or whatever you want to, but it gets the job done. That is where the Browns are at quarterback. We're basically choosing between a Ford Taurus and a Kia, right? Like that's what we're choosing between is a Ford Taurus and a Kia. And you're going to think in your mind, there's no way we can win a drag race with those cars. But the job this year for the Browns at quarterback is not to win a drag race. It's just to be a Ford Focus. That's what we need out of quarterback, or a Ford Taurus or a Kia, right? Just get to work. That's all that car has to do. That's what the quarterback needs to do for this team. And like, Russ has done that the last 2 years. Like, honestly, if you close your eyes and say, hey, the Browns quarterback's going to have 26 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, you would have been thrilled with that production. If you got the production Russ got with the Denver Broncos and the Pittsburgh Steelers, you'd be thrilled with it. Doesn't mean that it's good. Russ isn't good or anything like that. But you know what? Russ is a lot better than what it could be, right? Like, he's a lot better than what the floor could be out there at quarterback. So a lot of people like acting like starting Russell Wilson would be the worst thing in the world. No, the worst thing in the world would be like living with Carson Wentz for a whole season or something like that. It can get way worse than Russell Wilson for a season. Like, I'm being honest with you. So that's where the Browns are. It is not sexy. It is not desirable. It is not anything that's going to make you buy a jersey, or at least if you got some damn common sense, you shouldn't buy the quarterback's jersey this year. I'm just going to put that one out here. Just go put that. I don't care who's starting quarterback in September. Don't buy that man's jersey. Let's wait. Let's wait. This is not the year to buy a quarterback jersey. If you've been saving up your money to say in 2024 or 2025, I'm going to buy the starting quarterback's jersey, save your money. Or buy a Myles Garrett jersey or something like that. Or rock the Joe Thomas another year. Or rock the Kelly Holcomb another. This is not the year to buy the quarterback's jersey. All right. It's just going to be that kind of year. But that doesn't mean this year can't have success as far as wins and losses are concerned. But yeah, that's where the Browns are. They signed Jerome Baker. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.